Did you know that only 6% of economically active South Africans are expected to retire comfortably? And with an increase in cost of living far outpacing investment returns, the number of people who can retire comfortably is expected to drop further and further over time. The question is, are you part of that 6%? Are you on track to secure retirement? Or does your pension plan need a little work? Well, there's been a lot of talk about the new two-pot retirement system, aimed at helping South Africans save for a comfortable retirement. After several delays, it looks like the new system will finally kick in on the 1st of September 2024. Now, whilst most pension fund providers are optimistic about the change, this new system introduces some serious risks to your retirement planning. But it also presents big opportunity if managed properly. And when we say big opportunity, we're talking about potentially accelerating your retirement by 5 or even 10 years. But before we get into that, let's take a look at how the two-pot retirement system will work.
Now, the idea behind the new two-pot retirement system is to allow you access to a small portion of your retirement savings before you retire for emergencies or to help ease financial pressure. As it stands, the only way to access your pension fund before retirement age and without being retrenched is by resigning from your job. And many South Africans are doing just this, resigning to access their pensions in an act of desperation. The two-pot system will from 1 September 2024 split your monthly retirement contribution into two separate funds, a saving pot and a retirement pot. 1/3 of your contributions will be allocated to the savings pot, which you can access once per year if you need to. And the other 2/3 will be allocated to the retirement pot, which is locked until retirement age. Even if you resign or are retrenched, these funds cannot be accessed. And just to confirm, this new system applies to both your employer and employee contributions. Each will be split 1/3 savings and 2/3 retirement.
For those of you with existing pension funds, there are a few other things to know. Any existing retirement funds you have at the 1st of September 2024 date will be put into a separate vested pot. All the old pension fund rules will apply to this pot, including the ability to access your funds if you resign at some point in future. Another thing to note, if you have an existing pension, is that some of your funds will automatically be transferred into your new savings pot in September 2024 to create an opening balance. This amount to be transferred will be 10% of your pension fund, up to a cap of 30,000 Rand, and you can access these funds immediately if you need to. So to be clear, only new contributions from September 2024 will be used to fund the new savings and retirement pots. Your existing pension goes into the vested pot. And as you can see, technically speaking, this is actually a 3-pot system for people with existing pension funds. Now, a recent survey hosted by Sanlam found that only 36% of respondents actually have a retirement fund. And according to the South African National Treasury, only 6 out of every 100 South Africans will be able to retire comfortably. These numbers paint a devastating picture of the tough financial realities most South Africans face. But can the two-pot retirement system improve the situation? Well, government policymakers certainly think so, and so do we, but not quite in the way they necessarily intend. More on that in a moment.
Policymakers are rightfully concerned that people aren't saving for retirement, and that those who do are often tempted to access their pension funds early. The theory behind the new policy is that the ability to access 1/3 of your funds eases some immediate financial pressure, and this would thereby help to protect the balance of your funds, the 2/3 portion, against early access. So essentially what the government is trying to do is to create some short-term relief whilst putting a hard lock on 2/3 of your money to guarantee you will have some capital at retirement. Now, you can decide for yourself if this is a good or a bad idea, but we strongly believe that no one cares more about your money than you do. And rather than being forced to lock it up, you should back yourself and develop the skills and discipline to look after your own money. Because if you don't, you put your financial future in the hands of someone else, and you expose yourself to all sorts of unseen risks. For example, can you guarantee that the Rand is going to be around in 30 years' time? What happens if the country experiences hyperinflation like Zimbabwe did, and you want to move your retirement funds offshore? If you decide to immigrate one day, will you have the freedom to move your pension fund with you? And what happens if the government decides to change pension fund policies again at some point, creating even more restrictions or negative consequences for you?
In 2019, government started talking about prescribed assets, forcing pension funds to invest in failing state-owned enterprises. And while this appears to be on hold for the moment, no one can guarantee what the future holds. Risk can rear its ugly head in unexpected ways, sometimes with disastrous consequences. That's never been more true than for a close relative of mine. In 2021, my aunt reached retirement age. She was a government school teacher who served the school loyally for many years. She had built up a decent nest egg of around 750,000 Rand in a popular government pension fund, and it was time to start drawing an income from it. Unfortunately, after contacting the pension fund company, she received devastating news. Instead of the 750,000 Rand she was expecting, she was told that only 250,000 Rand was left, 1/3 of the value promised. And this was not because of market losses. The funds had been reallocated without her consent or knowledge to a government relief program. The funds were spent, 2/3 of her retirement money gone in an instant. No one was accountable, no one could help her, and after much protesting, she was eventually forced to accept the measly 250,000 Rand and simply come to terms with the fact that the rest of her money was gone. A truly terrible story, which happened right here in South Africa just over 2 years ago. And she was definitely not the only victim.
So what point are we trying to make exactly? Well, it's quite simple. Each of us needs to take more responsibility when it comes to our money, and the new two-pot system allows us to do just that. It grants us the incredible opportunity to invest 1/3 of our retirement contributions into other asset classes. So we get the ability to diversify into asset classes that offer us far more control over our money, and some which offer us much higher potential returns. When we started our careers, our pension funds were locked up with no option to withdraw whilst employed, and we became increasingly frustrated with this as our investment knowledge grew because we wanted more control over our money, higher returns, more flexibility, and we wanted to diversify. From 1 September 2024, you'll have this opportunity. Now, whilst the government encourages us to use a portion of our pension funds for short-term spending needs, easily delaying our retirement by 10 years, we have a different perspective. If you can exercise discipline and careful planning to instead invest 1/3 of your annual pension fund contributions in the right asset classes, you can actually accelerate your retirement by 10 years. It's up to you which path you're going to follow. Now, if you want to learn more about the different investment options available, watch this video where we discuss how to get the highest return on your money. We'll see you over there.